us what, you said he speaks perfect English. We have great conversations. So when you hear or you're told that he's not doing well, what's your understanding of what that means?
Well, in my class, I give centers. They have articles. They have to answer some questions. Sometimes they have to have discussions with students, and he doesn't seem to talk much. Socially he talks when it has to do with music and stuff like that. He doesn't participate much when it has to do about the articles. He's supposed to answer the questions, but he just doesn't seem interested. So he's just not finishing the work. But I see him interacting with the other kids, and he talks just fine with them. I don't understand why he can't do the work.
So I really hear how much you paid attention to him and noticed what he's doing, who he talks with, what he talks about. So that's great. I really hear that you're gathering a lot of data and information about him. So I'm curious about, you said that he doesn't talk about the articles, and then you said it just seems like he's not interested.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to that. I'm curious, let's just think about that a little bit more. I'm curious if you think there might be any other reason why he might not be talking about the articles.
I just don't think he's, maybe education is just not what his focus.
Education is not his focus?
He'd just rather socialize.
Okay, so let's go back actually to, let's look at a specific article that you had in one of your centers and expected him to talk about. Can you tell me a little bit about what that article was, what it was about?
Well, in each center, in the chapter that they were doing, they had different civilizations from the ancient Greek, and they had to read an article, and then they all had different articles, so they had, in a group, they had to read it and then discuss it. Discuss what it meant to them, discuss what any 3 wows that they found in there. There was quiet time and time for them to read. He read for a little bit, but just didn't have the conversation with the students. As I went around to, hearing the conversation, he just didn't seem to give any input of what he read.
So I'm curious, I guess I'm wondering, how do you know that he understood what he read? I'm just curious what kind of formative strategies you're using to assess their reading understanding before they move into the discussion.
Well, there's times when they have to read the article and answer questions, and well, he's not answering any questions, so, he's not, I'm assuming he doesn't comprehend it. I see that he doesn't comprehend.
Okay, so you think maybe he doesn't understand the article, maybe he doesn't, when he's reading, he's not understanding?
Maybe, but when we speak, he's having perfect English. He's able to speak to me on, how are you? How are you doing? I ask him if there's anything he needs help with, and he says he doesn't need any help.
So can you tell me where I just don't remember where you're getting some of your resources, where the article came from?
Well, our county has an EBSCO, and we're able to get articles from there. And I've even sometimes gotten for him in his language to see if that would help.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he would be more into the article and would be more willing when it's in his language.
Mm-hmm.
But,
that's so interesting. So if the article's in his language, he's more interested in it?
Yeah, it seems he's more interested. But the thing is, he has to learn English.
So do you think that he might actually be interested in the content, if he can access the content?
It seems that way, but I've kept on being told that he needs to learn English, so I can't give that to him forever, and I can't give him the test in his language.
I'm curious, just, I know some of your students, but I don't know Zaire. Can you tell me a little bit more about him?
Well, he's been in the country for about 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
He He lives with his parents here,
Mm-hmm.
but his parents do not speak English at home. He, I know he has been back and forth from his country once or twice, and he's an average student learning English.
Can you tell me something you appreciate about him?
Well, he's well behaved and he's very respectful.
Wow. Sounds like he has good conversational skills.
Yes.
It sounds like if you give him something in his language, he's interested and curious.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me one more thing you appreciate about him.
He seems attentive when I
Mhm.
speak. I have focus. He's focused on me. We have eye-to-eye contact when I speak.
And that I just want to make sure that I understand the implication of what you're saying. The eye-to-eye contact is a good thing
Mhm.
for you.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to then go back to this observation that you made, that when you give him an article in his language, he's interested.
Yes. The thing is, I just don't have the time. How am I supposed to do that for every article?
Mm-hmm.
For everything that I do, how can I do that for every article? And then, how is that going to teach him English?
Mm-hmm. Well, those are important questions. So let's move into that. What I wanted to go back to, though, and what I wanted to draw a distinction between, was you said earlier in our conversation, you said education is not his focus, and he'd rather socialize. So, but now what you've told me sort of contradicts that.
Mm-hmm.
If he can access the content, he's interested.
Mm-hmm.
Does that feel more accurate?
Yes. Maybe when he doesn't understand, that's when he'd rather socialize. From what I'm hearing from you, when you repeat it back to me.
And you said that, not me,
Exactly.
right? I didn't say that. I just repeated it back to you.
Right.
I mean, that's my role as a coach, is to kind of help you
Mhm.
go work through your thinking, figure out, how do I make sense of this? What do I think? And that's really an important distinction that I wanted to help you figure out, because it sounds like Zaire's a fantastic kid, I mean,
Oh yeah, he's not a bad kid at all.
Mhm.
You know, as a matter of fact, he's well behaved and he can get lost through the cracks. And
He's also, it sounds like he actually is interested in learning. He is engaged with content when he can access it.
Mhm.
And even something like, articles about ancient Greece, which, even kids who, some kids aren't interested in ancient Greece. Some of it's kind of, it's ancient. And far away, and, there's, so let me ask you this. I want you to imagine that it is 4 years from now, and Zaire is graduating. He's graduating from high school. He's walking across the stage, and you are in the audience. You're sitting right behind his family, and they're clapping and cheering as he walks across the stage, and he looks out and he sees them, and he sees you right there behind them. How do you want him to remember you?
I want him to be able to remember me as somebody who I'm trying my best on the level of language that he has
Mm-hmm.
to teach him, but just sometimes it just seems overwhelming of how do I teach this child? He seems to have the language, but he's just not giving me back.
So actually, let me rephrase my question. When he sees his parents afterwards, or when he's talking to his friend as he gets off stage, when he's talking during a time when they're allowed to talk, and he says, my 8th grade social studies teacher was there. What do you want him to say? What are the words you want him to say about you?
I would love to say that she pushed me.
She pushed me.
She pushed me to reach my potential.
All right. How does it feel to imagine him graduating?
awesome.
How does it feel to imagine yourself being there watching him graduate, knowing you played a role?
Very proud.
Very proud. Yeah, I can see it looks like you're experiencing some emotion. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes.
It's just the best feeling as a teacher to see your kids graduating. Just nothing like it.
Nothing.
It is really just the best. So tomorrow when he comes into your class, one more minute. Tomorrow when he comes into your class, what do you need to do in order to push him to reach his potential?
Well, like we discussed, he obviously needs something to access his own language. I guess my barriers are time. When can I do that? And when do I start taking out his? And how do I take out his language and just continue fully in English?
All right, that's the question I want to spend the rest of our time on, the how. Because my guess, and we're going to explore this, is that I hear you have the commitment, I hear that you don't know how. Time is about not knowing how. How do I find the time is really how do I do this? And so many of our teachers, so many of us, myself included, didn't get the kind of training that we needed in order to meet the needs of our English learners wherever they're at. And so it sounds like Zaire has a lot of conversational English, but perhaps not the academic English that he needs to have the conversations. So when I'm hearing you talk and when I've observed you, I'm thinking, oh, it'd be great if the kids had some discussion protocols, some stems to use, so that they have a scaffold. Because that's what I've observed and what I'm hearing is that there's no scaffolding. And that's just a how question. And that's what I'm here to help you to figure out. What does that mean? How do you do it? So I'm going to suggest that we spend the rest of our 40 minutes actually looking at tomorrow's lesson and thinking about how do we scaffold it so that Zaire can access the content, so that you can transition him out of reading in his home language and into reading in English, which you're right, he needs to learn. And you can support him to learn it. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome.
Great.
Fantastic.
All right, let's move into the lesson planning for tomorrow then.
Okay.
Thank you.